Okay, what up? It's a new YouTube video, and this is gonna be a little bit of prep before Lake Erie. We missed rounds 1 through 3, but that's life. Back in the shop with my boy Danny Lightning.
What up? Round 37, boys, let's go.
Big dog. Danny painted some leftover stuff that I needed done. Rear bumper. I don't even know what to call this. Maybe like a rear spat. These little under trim pieces, because this car was looking kind of weird with them missing here. We have our front bumper that was already painted. We are finalizing some stuff we never got a chance to finalize. And the two things on the chopping block are the hood and finalizing the fitment of the rear trunk. So the rear trunk, we did have it fit when this car was pre-paint, and everything fit really nicely. Went to paint, came back from paint, doesn't fit. Do I know why? Couldn't tell you. We have some theories, but we have some work to do and figure that out. However, the priority is to get the hood done for aesthetic reasons, as well as just like if there's a rain at an event, I just want to have this covered. So we're gonna start with that. No idea how we're gonna do it. We have some ideas. Danny's got some big ass pizza boxes. So this episode is sponsored by Mr. Grande Pizza. Shout out for them, big ass box. So we're gonna maybe do a mix of stenciling, and then I have a spare hood that I'm happy to cut up and use as a test dummy. So we'll probably end up using that, and then finally we'll transfer all that to the actual hood.
And then cut up the nice freshly painted hood.
Yeah, not gonna be fun.
No cameras rolling.
No cameras rolling, too much stress. I've already done the mechanical side of the prep, oil change from the last event, addressed a bunch of stuff, bolt check. I replaced a rear coilover because we debeaded a tire, which took out the external reservoir, which took out the coilover, so that was no fun. So the mechanical side of this prep is done. Now we're just going to focus on the aesthetics and hopefully load up early next week and head to Pro-Am. So let's get to it. So Danny and I are big CAD guys, so we're having our cardboard aided design here. Hit me up for all your CAD needs. So we're using El Grande.
Gotta order a big ass pizza,
Yeah,
and muck it back, and then you're good to go.
So we're gonna get our cardboard template as close as we possibly can. Then we're gonna get this piece together cardboard template onto a finalized CAD template. So we're just gonna have to input all that data into the CAD unit. And then we'll then transfer that onto the test hood that I don't care about. Make sure we get all of our fitment dialed, and then transfer that to the real hood. Start making sparks fly and try not to melt the paint too much.
Oh.
Woohoo. Step 1 is complete. Our test fit hood cut and fit the way we want it to be. Gonna adjust this for a little bit more room for the throttle cable. Not that this is moving back and forth, obviously, but with the engine shaking, we don't want to fray this cable. And then obviously we're gonna add or remove a bit of material on this side just for engine movement, but pretty happy with it. Turns out the engine is indeed in the center of the car. That's pretty cool. Up here we just massaged this because it's really thin with a block of wood on the intake, and just closing it just to curve it up a bit to give us a bit more room to breathe here. So we have some distance there. Hood is actually sitting a little lower than flush right now, which is good, which means that will only increase that gap there. So yeah, pretty happy with how the test fit hood worked, and I'm super glad that I kept this hood because it's a
good practice run.
Yeah, good practice run.
Buy run.
A little buy run for the boys. So now we gotta remake one more stencil, a more accurate one, and then it's onto the real hood. No pressure. Making good progress though.
Yeah.
Honestly, that wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. This car's gonna have a hood, boys. Stay tuned. There's I, Maurice with the Fusa. All right, we got our first cut on the actual hood. Now we just make small adjustments. We purposely made our template slightly smaller than what we needed, but for first cut, looking pretty promising. Most of the nerve-wracking part is over with. Once we have this dialed, one other thing we have to do is install our aero catch, which means we'll also have to cut some sort of material out of the back of the hood here. But yeah, one step closer, baby. Nerds. Freaking nerds. We got her done. Really pumped on how this cut turned out. I don't know how well you guys can tell on camera, but looking through the screen here, just pumped that we took the time to do this the way that we felt was right. We were able to keep these vents. I didn't want to go up into these vents. I didn't want to like get too close to them. That's when it starts getting flimsy and just looks like shit. So once we got it close, Danny and I just took a piece of aluminum stock tubing.
Special tool right here.
Yeah, the mallet.
You know,
persuader.
Two halves of a brain cell come together
Yeah.
to make one.
And we basically just sat it on the intake and kind of just kept shutting the hood and just kind of massaging this, like to kind of curve this lip up around the intake, and it worked beautifully because there's plenty of space to spare there. I mean, you can't really, it's hard to see on camera, but there's just almost a finger, and this is still sitting lower than it needs to be, so there's lots of room for the engine to kind of move around. But yeah, really pumped on how this cut turned out. We beveled the edges right now, obviously, which is why it's kind of accentuated like that, but we're gonna put paint body color on this, obviously, so it doesn't rust, which will make it even less obvious. But even with that being said, our cuts and our lines are really straight, so we took the time to massage it all with DA and a few other tools, but I think it looks killer. I mean, I didn't want that coming out the hood personally, but it really was our only option because we have front rad and oil cooler and we just couldn't fit it anywhere else. I think it looks pretty killer. Danny's actually been working on the back of the car too. We haven't even talked about this. Bash bars are off, trunk is off. Danny thinks maybe it might have been the bake cycle.
Yeah, the heat from the bake might have, just like kind of folded them in. It's almost like the tops of the quarters are like leaning into each other.
And then the quarters also sat after being painted in my basement for a while, and not being molded or bolted to a car at that point and holding that form. Maybe they misshaped or got deformed. I'm not sure. What matters is Danny has worked his magic and we have the rear end like on its way to being sorted out, which is really cool. So the trunk now fits. It didn't even fit before. Like it was just too tight. And oh, we're getting a little demo. Yeah, show off the magic hands. So he's kind of sorting this out section by section, problem by problem, and addressing it all. There was a huge gap down here before. It was bowed because it was under so much tension. This line right here before wouldn't even work. It just wouldn't, like it was just a huge gap. And then this was so tight up here that we couldn't even get the trunk to fit. So now it latches, it fits, and it's starting to come together. So he's just getting ready to test fit the rear bumper, make sure he's happy with how the bumper and that little under trunk panel fit. We're not gonna be able to get it perfect back here. That's just the nature of working with fiberglass and different brands of fiberglass. I feel like we're gonna be able to get it to a point for a drift car where it's gonna be like, it's gonna look good. Super productive day, and we're still not done yet. We ain't done yet, so we're jamming on this thing, dude. Excited to see it outside washed at some point with every panel on it, so hell yeah. We're back in the shop, continuing the prep for Lake Erie Pro-Am this coming weekend. Huge shout out again, of course, to my dude Danny Lightning. He's come through for me so often in this build and given me so much of his time. Really appreciate it. He's a weapon. Quiet Sunday here at the shop. Getting ready to verify and just check the alignment. I don't think anything has changed from the last event based on my paint markers. It looks like everything is good. We did DB'd a wheel at the last event. We got a little bit too much into the curbing and we were running really low pressures. And I'm just hoping that when we hit the curbing, it didn't actually shift anything in the trailing arm in the rear. So gonna quickly string it. I just got it ready to go here on all my turn plates, slip plates, front and rear. So I'm gonna string it, make sure alignment's good, and then just a bunch of little piddly stuff that we got to check off the list. We got to load a freshie, a VP into the trailer, because the one we got in there is pretty much empty. So, but it's Sunday, we're driving next Saturday, so if all goes well, we should have this thing hopefully loaded by like Wednesday. Got to change this. The initial one came with this Chase Bay's reservoir. It was bright blue. This line right here for the clutch, I hated that. I wanted it to be black, so we had a black one put on, but this is not the right material of hosing for brake fluid. So this was, I don't know if you can see it on video or not, but it's sweating through the hose. And when I came in after the last event, after leaving my car in the trailer, cracked this, it was empty. It was really strange because there was no visible leaks anywhere. Turns out that was just expanding and contracting, and because it wasn't the right material for brake fluid, clutch fluid, it was just sweating through the rubber hose. So got to replace that. I have a proper one I got from Willwood, rated for brake fluids, so switch that, and should be good to go for the weekend. Third time this weekend, Lake Erie will be the third time driving this car, and some of it is prepping, like oil change maintenance and stuff like that. Some of it is like we're literally still figuring this car out in terms of adding things. There's a never-ending list, but that never-ending list is almost done because we have front bumper, hood, trunk, rear bumper, all fitted on the car. So it is finally looking like a complete car. This is all stuff that we didn't have time to do post 4th of July Drift HQ event, just because we were really focused on making sure mechanical stuff was dialed, you know, being that it was a new build and we just tested it and drove right down to Carolina. One thing that I'm really looking forward to feeling out or testing this weekend is the throttle pedal. So Josh and the guys at FabMac machined me a really nice throttle pedal, all billet, beautiful piece, honestly. However, it is far too close for my liking to the brake pedal. And so when I go to left foot brake, I'm going to show you guys here. When I go to left foot brake, now mind you, I was wearing Vans, as any drifter does do, but I was wearing Vans, and when I go to left foot brake in drift, I was hitting my throttle foot with my brake foot, which is obviously less than ideal. Now, the crazy thing is, you might be looking at this right now and saying, oh, that's kind of close. Whatever, driver preference. But you can see, I actually already cut off a 1/4 inch off the left side of the throttle pedal, so the side closest to the brake pedal there. I think it will help. Part of it is obviously me needing to get comfortable in the car, but part of it is also just like instinctively, if I go to left foot brake and I'm hitting my own foot, that's a problem. Those of you who know E46s know that the throttle pedal is traditionally like right on the trans tunnel. Obviously it's a whole different style than that. We all know that. It's a mind muscle thing, and it's just different in this car. So part of it is on me for sure, getting used to something new. However, over the off season, if I don't like this, that is on the list of things to do. Make another custom pedal that is closer to the location of the OEM pedal. Outside of that, small list of things to do today. We are going to make a support to support the bumper. So it's secured along the top, but I'm worried that when we get some pace in the car, some speed, the wind is gonna push this right into my tire. More than likely will. So going old school NASCAR trick. My dude Brad Carlton, you guys have seen in a few videos, just dropping some stock car circle track racing knowledge on me. So this is just some aluminum hollow tubing. I'm gonna flatten one end in a vise and secure it somewhere, probably to this aluminum bumper, and then flatten another end, put it down here, put some rivets through it, bolts, hardware, whatever. In a perfect world, and what he was telling me in NASCAR or in circle track racing, they don't just use this, they use this as well as another hollow tube of a smaller diameter that slides inside of it, and they drill multiple holes and put a cotter pin in it. That way, when you take damage or it gets bent, you can just move it down and put another cotter pin, put the cotter pin through another hole, which makes a lot more sense. Really smart way of doing it, and that is what we're gonna do in the long term. However, being that we're so close to leaving, this is all the local store that was close to me had. So I'm just gonna make doubles so that we do have spares. But the long-term plan is to do something more like what Brad was suggesting. Kind of cool too. Very simple, and it's light. So that's on the list, as well as we need to cut a hole in our trunk for our fuel filler. So you can see I've already taken out the skin there where it's gonna be. I gotta stencil that out and find a nice way of doing that so that we can fill without having to remove the trunk, obviously, because that's really stupid. This is racing, not a show car. So the boys need to be able to put fuel in this thing quick. Aside from that, it's covered in a layer of dust. Pretty it up, take it outside, run it, make sure fluids and everything's happy, and then we load up and we're gonna go to Lake Erie. So let's get her done. So, just like that. Now we have a flat surface to drill a hole, a center hole, and then we can bend this obviously, and that's gonna be one of our mounting locations. And then we'll do the same thing on the other end, find our angle, and that'll be how we secure this just to hold our bumper from flapping around too much. All right, so got some bumper supports banged out. I tied it right into where the OEM rebar goes, in this case aluminum, and then just went to an existing hole that I had in the bumper, so passed it through. I mean, in hindsight, the next one I make will probably hide behind this, but that helps. So this is the one for the other side. Then I made 2 spares. Didn't drill the holes just because in case something happens at the track, but now we at least have 2 spares. We can drill the holes as we need. If there is damage, we can adjust it. On to the next task. Okay, next thing on the list. We are under the trunk right now. And like I said, we gotta cut a hole for the fuel filler. So I removed the fuel filler, left the bracket, took a Sharpie, drew a stencil. Now I'm gonna pull the trunk off and see how we can make this work. Hopefully a hole saw, but sometimes, as we all know, it's not that easy. So I found a hole saw that actually is gonna work, and I'm just gonna drill a pilot hole. I marked center with the hole saw. I'm gonna drill the hole so that I can push the hole saw bit flush, make sure it does line up happy. Then I will cut it through the other side just so we don't push the paint out the back side. So we'll flip it around once we do our final drill, and then hopefully I can just clean up the edges and throw a little touch-up paint on there with a brush at some point, and we'll have it looking good, or good enough for me. Okay, that actually went really well, and it's a really clean cut, which I'm happy with. I tried to just go real slow, let the drill do the cutting. So I'm going to flip this around and just clean some of this up real quick, but I'm really happy with that, and then we'll test fit it. Got a nice access hole to grab our fuel filler. Stoked. Should work nicely, it's very discreet. Pretty happy with how that turned out. And the next thing I'm doing is making an adjustment to the bash bar in the rear. So I'm actually gonna be cutting it this much off to start. And the reason for that is right now, the way the bash bar is set up, it's right to the inside of the bumper. So you can still see it on this one. It's right up against the bumper. I have this one removed, obviously that's what I'm about to cut. And I don't want that because if we're on a wall track, a bank track, which this weekend is, I want to be able to have a buffer so that if I do get into the wall, and I do like trying to get as close to the wall as I possibly can, I don't want to have a scenario where, because it's right where my bumper is, I tap the wall. Like, let's say we're going this way. If I just tap the wall, it's going to tank slap me. I don't want to go in like that. I want some buffer room to save the car and to allow us to actually get a little bit into the wall. Obviously, at a certain point, you have to imagine that, the rear end is solid, and if you're too deep into the wall, like, obviously you're not being precise enough with your driving, but we want some give. I don't want it right up against the quarter. If you look at Drift Masters or a lot of the cars in the FD, they hardly have anything back here. We do have a fuel cell to protect, so we do need them still. However, I'm going to keep the same structure. I'm just going to bring it in so that I would like to have like a 5 to 6 inch gap between the bumper and the bar, because that gives me enough leeway. And if I get more than 6 inches into the wall, That's my problem. So that's what we're gonna do. Start cutting small and get it dialed. Okay, so that's it for this prep video. We're super happy with the results. Danny and I hustled. We got the car fully kitted up in terms of having all the body panels finally. I'm so happy with how it looks. We are getting ready to load up now and head to Lake Erie, but that will be in the next video. So thank you guys for watching the prep video, and we will see you in the next one at Lake Erie. Peace.